The reason I talk to myself is because I'm the only one whose answers I accept. I dare say you've heard the story of a boy named Arthur who was left nearly hopeless due to the fact that no one around him believed in mental illness. He grew up in a town called Unpleasant Valley that was entirely conservative in the sense that no one believed in sharing anything about their issues or opening about their problems at all, and all men were meant to be strong. It was practically frowned upon to seek help from a psychiatrist or open up to anyone about your feelings at all. Arthur didn't know where to turn. He was convinced that he was dealing with chronic depression and he had no one to talk to about it. Finally, he mustered up the courage to talk about his feelings. Unfortunately, even those that were close to him were not sympathetic and made him seem as if he pitied himself because he couldn't deal with the problems of the real world. One day, Arthur was feeling especially sad. Hopeless, with never-ending racing thoughts that he would never be normal, tormented by his own emotions that no one would ever truly understand what he was going through. Am I just imagining these emotions to shut myself away from the reality of life? Arthur asked himself. Am I lazy? Am I a liar? Am I weak? Arthur didn't have any of the answers that he so desperately needed. He wondered if it was time to uncover his true colors, to reveal the mask that he so dreadfully wore to isolate his inner struggles from the outside world. So one day he planned to meet his friend Scott at the local pub, where he spent most of his time. So one day when he made his way there, he was waiting for his friend impatiently while having some drinks in the meantime. Scott eventually made his way there, and they both took a seat down at the bar. Not much time passed before Arthur uncontrollably exclaimed, "I'm tired of running away from my feelings. I want to share my emotions the way they reflect on my life." Scott, entirely unamused by the situation, sat back in his seat and said, "Bro, we all have problems and everyone has to deal with them. Just get over it. Stop being a baby." Arthur, appalled and embarrassed, sat back in his seat, astonished that he would even talk to his friend about that, considering he was such an idiot. "I just wish you could relate to me." Can you relate to me? Do you feel how I feel? But since no one around us seems to be able to deal with these kinds of things, we can't talk about it. I just feel like a turtle who never wants to leave a shell. Scott, fed up with Arthur, says, "Dude, you're acting like a lady. It's just real life stuff, and apparently you can't deal with it. Maybe if you stopped drinking so much, you wouldn't have so many issues." Arthur drunkenly responds, "I drink to ease the pain." Deep down, Arthur knew that alcohol was a depressant and wasn't helping his situation at all. In fact, it was making matters worse. Scott, entirely fed up with the situation, stands up from the bar and says, "Dude, I thought we came here to have a good time, not to listen to some stop story." Then he crushed another shot of Jägermeister because he's such a bro. Arthur sat back, ashamed that he was even willing to open up his mouth to his friend Scott, orders another drink from the bartender as an elderly man approaches his booth and sits down. "I'm Michael," the old man says. "I overheard your conversation with that young man, and I was wondering if I could intervene." Arthur answers, "Sure, but you don't have to. No one seems to want to." "That's not true," Michael responds. "I too have struggled with what's eating me up inside. No one to talk to, no one that can convey. But a while back, when I was at an all-time low, drinking myself to the point of what I thought was comfort, just as you're doing now, I found someone. Someone that felt hopeless and alone. Someone that had a deep-rooted understanding of how cruel the world can be. Someone that showed me I had a life worth living, and I'd like to be that someone to you." Ultimately, Arthur ended up meeting Michael once a week to discuss how he's feeling and the problems that he's dealing with. Though Arthur doesn't become miraculously cured of his mental conflicts, he does finally see a light at the end of the dark and despairing tunnel that he viewed as life. Michael's practical dedication to support Arthur was the key that unlocked the door that held Arthur captive of his own turmoil. He was finally able to accept that mental illness is a real issue, and in fact, not a fairy tale. Thank you.